Today we're going to take a different approach, and we've got a lot of ground to cover. 20 of the top hazards in mechanical construction. That's our focus.
Even though we've talked about these hazards many times before, we're still having problems.
Jobs we're trying to complete get slowed down, then there's the paperwork and the investigations, and most importantly, we're still getting hurt out there. So today, we're doing a safety audit. We want you to be able to recognize these hazards and eliminate them. That way you can do your job and make it home in one piece. Improper lifting. Bad, very bad. Leads to back injuries. This is a physical job. Work to develop and practice good lifting habits, and you'll be okay.
Think before you lift. Evaluate the load. If there's enough room, your first option should always be to use material handling equipment. If you do have to lift something, lift it right. Position yourself to keep the natural curves in your back, keep the weight as close to your body as you can, and lift with your legs in a smooth motion. And don't twist when you lift. Turn your whole body to move with the load once the lift is completed. And if it's a real heavy or bulky load, get some help to lift it.
A professional football player goes into the game not wearing a helmet or pads. That's about as logical as a professional mechanical construction worker walking onto the job site without a hard hat or other necessary PPE. It should be routine. Here's what's required all the time.
Hard hat, safety glasses, long work pants without cuffs, work boots, and work gloves. Depending on the situation, you may need more PPE like hearing protection, a face shield, or a respirator. Of course, you'll always wear a welding helmet with the proper shade of lens and welding gloves when you're welding, or the other appropriate equipment needed for other types of hot work. But if you ever find yourself not knowing what PPE you might need for a specific job or task, ask your supervisor.
You're out here tending to your business and something big, like a pipe wrench or a pipe hanger, comes flying out of nowhere. Take some quick, easy steps to protect yourself and your coworkers.
Protect yourself by always wearing a hard hat. That shouldn't even be an issue. They're mandatory. Keep the bill turned forwards. It's designed to protect your face from falling objects. Protect your coworkers by guarding edges with toe boards. Mesh can also be used on guardrail systems to keep objects from falling to the level below. Put up simple barricades to keep people out of the immediate area below you when you're working up above. Struck by hazards include vehicles too. Don't let yourself become desensitized to backup alarms, and stay extra alert in the job site's high traffic areas.
We just talked about getting struck by big objects. What if I get struck by a small object? If it hits me anywhere over 99% of my body, I may not even feel it. But if it hits me in the eye, I feel it big time. Wear safety glasses 100% of the time.
When you're grinding, you should be wearing a face shield, but the face shield alone won't protect your eyes from flying objects. Wear your safety glasses under the face shield at all times. When you weld, the mask is always getting flipped up and leaves your eyes very vulnerable. A piece of slag could pop off the weld, or some other object could come flying by from who knows where. Keep your eyes protected.
Handling sheet metal without gloves. Would you pick up a razor by the blade? This stuff has sharp edges, really sharp. A lot of people are reporting serious cuts and lacerations because they didn't take the time to do this. That's what, 5 seconds?
Gloves protect your hands and can give you a better grip. Make sure you wear the appropriate gloves for the task.
Extension cords, tools and equipment, scrap materials, welding rods, stubs, mud, ice, grease. Workers are slipping and tripping on all sorts of things. Fall protection starts at ground level.
Keep your work areas and walkways clean and clear of equipment and debris all the time, not just at the end of the day. Clean any slippery surface immediately. The next person may not see it.
Pretty simple. Any hole 2 inches or more is big enough to trip on or fall through and has to be covered. Covers can also keep tools and materials from falling through to a lower level.
The cover needs to be strong enough to support twice the maximum load that could be placed on it, properly secured so it won't come loose, and clearly marked with the word hole or cover.
About half the falls in mechanical construction are from ladders, and almost always because we're trying to save time with unnecessary shortcuts.
Like overreaching and carrying tools and materials in your hands while climbing up or down. Position the ladder in the right spot for the job. When you feel yourself start to overreach, stop. Take the extra couple seconds to get down and move the ladder. When you climb any ladder, face it and make sure you always have 3-point contact. Wear a tool belt or hoist up any tools or materials that would make 3-point contact awkward or impossible. And never try to use a step ladder as a straight ladder.
When you're on a lift, the guardrails have one purpose: keeping you inside. Keep the gate or the chain latched anytime you're on the lift.
Nowadays, many lift manufacturers recommend that we use fall restraint systems while working on lifts that are designed for their use. These lifts have built-in anchor points for attaching your fall restraint lanyard. These systems are designed to keep you inside the lift too.
An exposed edge without guardrails. Oof, I get uncomfortable just thinking about it. You're in danger, your co-workers, the public. Obviously, there's a lot riding on these.
To protect you, guardrails need to withstand 200 pounds of force. Damaged or improperly installed guardrails won't cut it. Steel cable guardrails can start to sag after a while. They need to be tight, secure, and flagged every 6 feet for visibility.
It's a fact. Anytime you work at heights, you need a fall prevention or protection system in place. No excuses. When you can't use a guardrail system, you still need some type of fall prevention or protection system. Usually, it's a personal fall arrest system.
Full body harness, locking snap hooks, and lanyard. All parts of the personal fall arrest system need to be compatible. Tie off to a proper anchorage point. An anchorage point needs to withstand 5,000 pounds of force for each person tied off to it.
Imagine an anchorage point for one person being strong enough to suspend a full-size pickup truck, and you'll be pretty close to the 5,000-pound mark. Too often, we find hand tools missing their guard, or guards have been bypassed. Hand tools come with guards built in for a reason: your protection.
Consider the RPMs on a grinder. That wheel is traveling as fast as a NASCAR stock car. Would you really want to be in front of it without protection? Some of the most common tools we find in the mechanical construction industry that have missing or improperly used guards are grinders, hot saws, chop saws, circular saws, abrasive cutoff saws, and high-speed cutoff tools. This list isn't all-inclusive, but you get the idea. Make sure all hand tools have guards in place. Don't remove tool guards or try to modify or bypass them in any way. If you find a tool with a missing guard, take it out of service and tag it for repair or replacement.
The crane is the muscle, but it's the rigging that supports the load. The rigging isn't designed to last forever, and you don't want to find out it's defective when it's swinging overhead.
Natural rope slings, synthetic fiber slings, steel chain slings, wire rope slings, chokers, synthetic webbing. Inspect them each time before use. Look for any damage or imperfections. If there's any doubt, take the rigging out of service and have it replaced.
Maybe you've gotten shocked before. Even a tiny zap will get your attention. Anytime you work with electrical tools or equipment that aren't protected by a ground fault circuit interrupter, GFCI, or an assured equipment grounding program, electrical shock that could result in extreme pain, severe burns, and even electrocution is a real possibility.
Some job sites make it easy with built-in GFCIs, but on many job sites, GFCIs won't be installed, and you'll need to use a portable one. Here's how. Plug the GFCI into a grounded outlet. Plug your extension cord into the GFCI. Then, plug the power tool into the extension cord.
Extension cords take a beating. They run across the ground and can suffer a lot of wear and tear. Use a bad extension cord and you could end up in bad shape.
Inspect extension cords for nicks and cuts, burns, abrasions, and other defects. Check the plug to make sure the ground prong isn't broken off. If you find any damage, take the extension cord out of service so you don't become the easiest path to ground. Also, use the right extension cord for the job. A regular household extension cord isn't heavy-duty enough to use with most power tools and has no place on a construction job site.
There's a lot of electricity flowing during electric arc welding, enough to power half the job site. Use a bad welding lead, and that electricity can end up flowing right through you on its way to the ground.
Inspect the stinger leads every day. Check that the electrode holders and welding cables are well insulated.
The welding arc doesn't just create intense light, but intense ultraviolet light. That can cause bad sunburn to your retinas. Other workers in the area may not be wearing the proper eye protection.
So always have a welding screen in place to protect your coworkers. Even if they don't look at the light, the UV radiation can still be hazardous to them without a barrier. Within your welding area, keep it clear of any combustible materials that could catch fire from the sparks and slag. And always have a Class ABC fire extinguisher available.
Soil is very heavy. A cubic foot weighs between 90 and 140 pounds. A cubic yard weighs over 3,000 pounds. A cave-in could literally be like having a small pickup truck dropped on you. Not very good odds of survival.
A protective system needs to be in place on any excavation 5 feet or deeper. If nothing is in place, stay out of the excavation. Trench boxes are very common in this industry because they're portable and can be moved quickly along with the work. Of course, you need to stay within the walls of the trench box.
The health effects aren't always immediate, so it's easy to forget about the dangers of hazardous materials. Someday we might be so high-tech we'll have monitors on our hard hats to warn us about them, but that day isn't here yet.
Find out what hazardous materials you could be exposed to on each project. Check the Material Safety Data Sheet, or MSDS, for each of them to learn how to protect yourself. When it's needed, your employer will take measures to determine hazardous materials exposure levels so you can protect yourself accordingly. If respiratory protection is required, make sure you get the proper training and follow through with it. Wear the respirator and other necessary PPE as indicated by the MSDS.
A confined space can be very deceiving. Any hazards that might be present are things you can't always see, smell, or taste. Just climb in and go to work, and you could be in a hazardous atmosphere and never realize it until it's too late.
Before entering any confined space, all hazards need to be eliminated or controlled. A competent person will sample the air inside to determine whether there's enough oxygen to work safely and whether there are any toxic, flammable, or explosive gases. The competent person will also be able to tell you whether it's a permit-required confined space and what you need to do to protect yourself. If no hazards are detected, it's safe to start work. If a hazard is detected, no one can enter. Ventilation and further testing will be done until the space is approved for safe entry. There you have it, 20 of the top hazards in mechanical construction. It's a lot of information, but when you think about it, it comes down to this. Take your time, think before you act, and make the safe choice. Taking a shortcut can not only end up costing more time and money, but seriously threaten your own well-being.
Learn to quickly recognize the most common hazards on the job site and then take the time to eliminate them. Stay safe out there.